Good morning, St. Augustine. Your access to the voices of top local newsmakers starts now. Here's your host, Liz Ryan.
Good morning. Thank you for tuning in. It's nice to have you with us this morning. My guest today is someone I'm proud to call friend, Commissioner Ann Taylor. Good morning, Ann.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
There's so much to talk about. I don't know how we're going to squeeze it all into 30 minutes. Because when you and I get together, forget about it.
That's right. We don't have room for anybody else.
It's like a verbal tennis match.
Yeah.
So let's start off with familiarizing our listeners to your story, if they don't already know.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about your background, where you were born.
Sure. Well, I pretty much grew up in Arizona. In the Phoenix area.
Beautiful there.
And it is really nice. And
Saddleback Mountain.
Very nice. It sounds like you've been.
Scottsdale.
Yeah,
been there.
Yep. And the thing is that I was just so tired of the desert. I told my mom many times, my mother, I said, if I never see another cactus again, it'll be too soon. And then I would also refer to it as the kitty litter box.
Oh, boy.
And she didn't appreciate that. But I know a lot of people love it. I was just ready for a change after spending most of my life there. And I met my husband there, and he is from the Northeast and had all these wonderful shore stories and beach stories. And our boys were young. I have two boys, and I thought, you know what? I want our kids to have shore stories and beach stories. And I've always loved the beach. And so when the opportunity came in 2013, we moved here to Florida and moved to St. Augustine.
Yeah, the beaches in Arizona are terrible.
Yes. There's no water. Yes, exactly. But could not be more blessed, could not be happier. Absolutely love St. Augustine. I still pinch myself that we live here.
How did you pick St. Augustine?
You know what? My husband's best friend since he was 5 years old has lived here. And we knew the kids were young. They were 4 and 6 at the time. And schools was a really important part of the decision. We were trying to get them in a very good school district, and we were trying to avoid private school if we had to. Mm-hmm. So we came to visit. It was funny, too, because when we came to visit, it poured rain the entire time we were here. And then we also went to the Gulf side. We went to Clearwater, and hands down, we chose St. Augustine, and it definitely was the right choice.
And what is your work background?
So I have a business background. I was in the medical industry for most of my career in that, and absolutely loved it. After COVID, I was ready for a change, and I was in the hospitals a lot. I was a hospital rep, and so I knew I was ready for kind of a break, and I've always been very passionate about politics. But if you would have asked me years ago, would I be in the seat I'm in, I would have never guessed. But this opportunity came up, and it was really on my heart, and it was something I prayed about. And I truly feel like it really was a calling. And
when you say you've always been passionate about politics,
yes.
Were you involved in politics before? Did you work on campaigns? Were you on boards?
You know what? A little bit I did. I mean, I've always worked full time up until just recently. But I know, like with Trump's campaign, I made phone calls and did different things like that and throughout the state of Florida. But I've always worked so much. And then with the kids, there wasn't a ton of time as far as volunteering for something like that. But no, I've never worked on anybody's campaign. This was literally an entirely new chapter that I had no idea what I was getting into.
You were really starting from scratch.
Very new. Could not be any more fresh. Yes.
So where did your passion for politics begin? Were your parents political? Or?
You know what? Not really. I think over the years, my husband as well, too. I wouldn't say that I was, not oblivious to things, but it wasn't like part of my core. And now anybody that knows me knows that I can't talk to you more than 30 seconds without somehow bringing up politics, because it is in my fabric and it is so important. And I look at the future of this country. My grandfather fought in World War II. And, you just look at the history of this country and that we truly do live in the best country in the entire world. And, and it wasn't easy to get to where we are. And
why else are immigrants trying to come here from all over the globe?
Exactly. But that is just where that passion comes from. And I think when you have children as well, even before the kids, but really when you do have children, you think about their future and what kind of a place do we want them to live in. And that really is what got my interest up. And now I am so passionate. I really follow a lot of things globally within the U.S., the county, and that because it's just so important. People have got to wake up and you've got to know what's going on.
And you have 2 boys.
I have 2 boys, yes. One right now is a freshman at Ole Miss. Could not be more proud of him. I miss him terribly, but I'm so proud of him. It's a wonderful school. It was built in the 1800s. We went to Parents Weekend in September. And
I saw the pictures on Facebook.
Yes, yes. And I'm also so proud of him because he joined the military with the Army. He's doing the National Guard program at the same time as getting his degree. So he's really having to balance his time and that. So I'm so proud of him for doing that. 3 days a week, he actually does a training before classes even start. So he's up at 5 in the morning.
Wow.
To do this. And he's
him.
like his mom. We're not really morning people. So, but I'm really, really proud of him. He's doing amazing. He's getting straight A's. And I could not be more proud of him.
I'm surprised you're not a morning person. I thought you were a 24 hours a day person because you're like, oh, it's go, 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 go. You're bouncing off the walls. You're here, there, and everywhere.
I am.
Well, your son's had great role models.
Yeah, well, and I appreciate that very much. And then my other son is a junior in high school. He goes to Nice High School.
Mm-hmm. You're listening to Good Morning St. Augustine. I'm your host, Liz Ryan, chatting with County Commissioner Ann Taylor. Pleasure to have you here with us this morning, Ann. Now, let's jump forward to when you decided to run for County Commissioner. That was a tall order.
Yes.
For a short woman. So, sorry, I couldn't resist.
That's okay. I'm used to it. I am used to that. I'm used to it. I have tried gravity
Spitfire.
boots. I have hung upside down. Miracle Grow. Nothing seems to work, but that's okay. Don't let the size fool you. That's all I can say.
Small but powerful.
Exactly. Yes.
But you really faced terrible odds, right, when you were running for commissioner?
Yes. What kind of happened and what really sparked my interest is that I was really involved in my kids at their schools, and I was on a number of committees in that, and I am so passionate about our kids and the schools and what St. Johns County has been going through. You know, these schools are so crowded. Our classrooms are, where the teachers are being challenged all the time, and they're having to do more and more. Because I actually originally had filed to run for school board. I don't know if you know that or not.
No, I didn't know that.
Yes, I had originally filed to run for school board in District 5. And the more I looked into things, the more I realized that, you know what, our schools are in the situation they are because of decisions made above them. And that's really what sparked my interest in county commission, because I realized that these decisions are being made by our county commissioners, and that's causing a lot of issues with our kids in the schools. And I thought, gosh, I think I could even help even more at a commissioner level.
What kinds of things about the schools do you want to fix?
When I think about my kids in school, the challenges is, of course, the growth, of course, all the portables. Tocoi High School is a relatively new school. It's only been open a few years. And last summer, I shared all kinds of photos of all these portables. I think they have over 30 portables at Tocoi High School. I have a number of friends that have their kids that go there. The hallway, it is busting at the seams. And do you know their portables, I heard, are eventually going to probably be two-story.
A two-story
portable.
Never heard of it.
Well, double-decker. Yes. So that they'll have to eventually they've already lost field space and all that because they had to have so many more portables. We've got a lot of friends that are teachers, and they are really being spread thin as well. So it's a number of things.
But a developer went before the Board of County Commissioners this past week and said that their prediction is there will be no portables by, I can't remember, 2028, I think he said 2029.
That was at a recent commission meeting, and that was not accurate. So before that, and I'm so glad that you brought that up, because it is challenging, because, we will be presented information that ultimately results in a vote. And I really do my homework before things. And I knew during my briefing and when looking at some of the information that I thought, you know what? This doesn't seem exactly accurate. And they were actually using numbers from last year. So I called before this vote, called the district, called the school, got accurate numbers.
Wow,
and
you
instead,
did your homework.
I definitely spend a lot of time doing my homework. So whereas during the commission meeting, we were told that the school, particularly Tocoi, was at 87% capacity. Well, the truth of the matter is that they're over 100% capacity. So they were way under on not only the percentage, but on the number of students that are at that school. So I definitely shared the factual information, but that is unfortunate because we have got to have accurate information when these important decisions are made.
Of course.
And that was a decision that I was very passionate about as well. It was commercial property in the neighborhood, and they wanted to switch it to residential. And what people have to realize...
That's the NEQ development you talking about? Okay.
Yep. Yes. And what people have to realize is that with housing comes very much a strain on our infrastructure. Mm-hmm. So, of course, we want to look at the roads. We want to look at, is there room and do we have seats in the schools for our children? And clearly we do not. And one of the challenges as well with this county is that we are 85% residential, especially when you look at property taxes and where that comes from. And only 15% of that is non-residential or more commercial. And for years, they've been trying to adjust that percentage. In fact, there's been a number of waivers given to businesses, especially tied to transportation, to non-residential waivers. And so, it's no wonder that we haven't been able to grow our commercial when things are always being decided and going the residential way. So.
Mm-hmm. You, like I said, you do your homework and you're quite vocal at the meetings, and you're not afraid to speak up and challenge. When you hear something that you don't think is correct,
yes,
you're not afraid to challenge it. When you were first on the board, was that intimidating? Was that a skill that you needed to work on and develop, or does it just come naturally to you?
People that know me would probably say it comes naturally to me. Yes. I believe in being truthful. Mm-hmm. And that's just very, very important to me, is that mm-hmm. we cannot make good decisions if we are not given accurate, good information. Mm-hmm. And so, and I learned a long time ago that there's two sides to every coin, mm-hmm. and we can't always just hear from one side in that. So I do believe in digging a little bit deeper in that.
So going back to your campaign, that was a tough one because you were outspent up against a popular incumbent. You didn't have a lot of name recognition. That was an uphill battle. And I'm not going to lie, Ann, not a lot of people were really betting on you, but you pulled it off. Tell me about the campaign.
Absolutely. And something that I really, really want to make sure that is very, very clear is that when I talk about a calling, that is exactly what I mean. After I had filed to run for school board, and I do feel that I did have a calling about running for county commissioner instead, and I did not take the decision lightly. It was something I prayed about it for 2 weeks straight. Every night I would pray about it, open up my Bible randomly, and it could not be clearer. And then I would close my Bible, open it again, and it was clearer than the last time. For 2 weeks straight, I did that.
Wow.
And then finally, I looked at my husband and I said, okay, I think I know what I meant to do. But so I truly, in fact, I even had somebody call me out at a meeting and said, they knew me and they're like, Ann, what is this all about? Who is behind this? And I looked him right in the eye and I said, you know who's behind this? And I pointed up and I said, he's behind this. And they didn't know what to say.
Never underestimate the power of prayer.
Absolutely. It is. But thank you for sharing, though, what an underdog story that I do have.
Right.
I make a basement seem like a penthouse.
You're full of little quips, too.
Yes.
And boy, were you dragged through the mud. You were accused of being a liberal, everything, right?
Everything.
And then those ugly mailers that went out about you and some of the other candidates, too. Tell us a little bit about, for people who might not be familiar, the ugly side of that campaign.
Sure. And what people need to realize, too, especially in St. Johns County, that overall we are a very red Republican county, overwhelmingly Republican county. And so local decisions are all made in the local primary in August. Mm-hmm. And Florida is a closed primary state. Not everybody understands that. That is very important to know because we do have a lot of transplants from out of state that come here and maybe where they lived doesn't operate, as it does here in Florida. If you are a registered Republican, then you will get a Republican ballot with mm-hmm. only Republicans on it. If you're a registered Democrat, then you're going to get a Democrat ballot. And so here in our county, everybody running was other than the school board or something that are considered no party affiliate, for the most part is on that Republican ballot. So what they did in this county was they painted me as someone that most people would never want to vote for. And it was unbelievable to have my character. I mean, I've got a family, I've got 2 teenage boys, my husband. everybody knows that politics is ugly, but you have no idea. I had no idea what I was getting into and just how ugly things could really be. I never in a million years would I have dreamed that.
So just for the record, I'm going to ask you point blank, Ann, look me in the eye and tell me the truth.
Yeah.
Are you a liberal Democrat pretending to be a Republican?
Not in the least. Not in the least. So here I am on my little electric scooter knocking on doors, and people would say, hold on a sec. They'd go back in their house. They'd come out with one of the mailers, and literally they had written across my face, because I was between, Biden and Harris, and they had written across my face in a big Sharpie, no. And they told me there's no way they were voting for me, and that they had just seen a god-awful commercial about me as well. And I just looked at him and I said, ma'am, if you believe that, please, none of that is true. They want you to believe those lies. Uh-huh. I said, I am getting ready to vote for Trump for the third time. And I could not be more passionate. I've been to so many of his rallies, and I'm conservative. I'm so fiscally conservative. I want to save tax dollars, and I spend every money as if it's my own. And I've done that even throughout my career. I've always had an expense account, and I remember I've had a company car most of my career. Even though it didn't matter, I had a gas card. I would go across the street if it was a little bit less, because I spend every dollar as if it's my own. And I want to do the same with our tax dollars.
I love that.
So to be painted as the opposite of what I am was infuriating, to say the least. To think that here I am having to defend myself to people that have no idea, what I'm about or who I am. And my son works at a local grocery store, and people would stop him while he's working to ask about his mom and what's up. And
really?
Yes, it happened all the time to him. And he would say, well, if you talk to my mom more than 15 or 30 seconds, you clearly know where she stands on all of that.
But despite all that, you pulled it off and you won. Why do you think you won?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I've already given him credit before, but it was all God. It was all Jesus in this. I do remember that when I filed to run for county commissioner, I prayed so much, and I prayed that the right people would come into my life that would help, because I had no idea what I was doing. I said, God, I have no idea how we're going to do this. Please guide me. Please bring the right people into my life to help with this, because I honestly don't know how this is going to happen. And so truly, that's what it was. It was a lot of hard work, a lot of perseverance. My husband, my kids, family, and friends, and a lot of people that I really didn't know that well before this campaign, before I even filed. So I am so grateful to people that stepped up, that had faith in me, and now are like family to me. I could not be more grateful. Definitely a team effort. Can't imagine. I mean, I've never had to raise money for anything. I mean, I barely raised $25,000.
Wow. I hate asking people for money. I hate that. Don't ever make me do that.
It is very awkward, and I've never done it before. I've never had to do it before. And I would do things, fundraisers at the school and things like that, but never anything like this. And but I've never worked harder in my life. Never had other people work so hard for me. And I just truly believe that there is a reason why I'm in my seat, and I have meetings all the time, and I remind everybody, listen, I am here for a reason. And I know you just commented on how I go nonstop, because I really want to make the most of every single day that I'm in the seat that I work so hard for. I've never worked harder for anything in my life.
You're listening to Good Morning St. Augustine. I'm your host, Liz Ryan, chatting with County Commissioner Ann Taylor. I suppose we should talk about some county issues as time is flying by.
Yeah.
It seems like home rule is being eroded.
Yes.
Wasn't that in the movie Bruce Almighty? Eroded. So home rule is being eroded, right? The Live Local Act,
Yes.
SB 180. What do you think we should do about that?
Well, I am so passionate about that, and I can honestly say that I have not met one person that disagrees with home rule. Our residents in St. Johns County, a big reason that I was able to overcome so much is that our residents want change. They are tired of spending 30 minutes to 45 minutes to go a couple of miles. They are tired of our schools being as crowded as they are, and all the development that they're seeing on our little 2-lane roads and that. So our residents want change, and that was really a big part of it. I ran on slowing the growth, not stopping the growth, because clearly, a lot of people don't realize we have thousands of homes that are still coming that have not yet been built yet.
Thousands, yep.
Thousands of homes that are entitled, approved, and not yet built yet. So really a big part of my campaign that I should have mentioned a little bit earlier, it was slowing the growth. And that really resonated with so many residents, because that is how they feel. we know we can't stop things, but we have got to let our infrastructure catch up. We have got to think about people that are living here now in this county, and what can we do to address the quality of life in that. And what's so frustrating about SB 180 is that you're right, it attacks home rule. I believe that our residents deserve a say and a voice. And what SB 180 does is it takes their voice away. I don't know if you saw any photos earlier, but that is exactly why at a recent county commissioner meeting, I had to put the handcuffs on, because that is what SB 180 is doing to our county. And I love being part of a groundbreaking, a ribbon cutting, but I didn't work so hard for the seat to just have pictures with a shovel or scissors cutting a ribbon. I worked way too hard for that, and I want to represent our residents, and we need to have a say in development and what is going on. And the fact that our comprehensive plan has not officially been updated in 25 years, it's due this year. I mean, they do things throughout the years, but it hasn't been officially updated in 25 years. So it's due this year. And we have spent the last few years, the county has spent the last few years spending a lot of money working with a consultant, doing surveys, and really talking to the community about what do they want for the direction of our county, whether it be where do they want to see development, where do they want to see roads, our infrastructure and all that. So we've spent a long time and a lot of money on our comprehensive plan. So to have had that submitted, and then we just heard recently it was rejected by the state.
The state said no because they thought some of the things in the comp plan were too burdensome on developers.
Yep, and restrictive. Restrictive and burdensome, which are words from SB 180, which was a Senate bill that now is a law. And also, just to turn back the clock a little bit, in June, I was very much aware of how detrimental SB 180 would be to our county. And so I actually suggested at a commissioner meeting, I tried to get consensus to write a joint letter to Governor DeSantis asking him to please veto this bill. And 99% of it had good intentions. It was to help people whose homes and that were destroyed after a hurricane. But what happened is in the 11th hour, wording was put in, such as the restrictive and burdensome wording, and that is what made what could have been a good bill so detrimental. And I'm just so passionate about that.
And the county just voted to not join other counties in suing the state over SB 180, correct?
Yes, we did not have a majority that supported that. I personally am a huge supporter of us joining the lawsuit. I've spoken to other people in the other counties that are included in this. It's a number of cities as well as counties. And I've heard from so many residents in this county that want us to join the lawsuit. It's not very much money. It's only $10,000 for us to join. And the timing of our comprehensive plan is what makes St. Johns County so critical with joining the lawsuit at this time. If we would have had our comprehensive plan submitted 3 or 4 years ago, it would not be so much of an issue. But because of the timing of our plan having to be submitted and approved by the end of this year, that's what makes it so critical.
Mm-hmm. Okay, one more unpleasant topic before we get on to something a little nicer. There were some vile, disgusting, repugnant images of you and Commissioner Krista Joseph circulating on something called Blue Sky. I'm not familiar with that, but I guess that's a website where crazy people post crazy things. And they were horrible. They depicted you and Krista with things like your head blown off and blood streaking down your face and your eyes bulging out. And I have no idea why, but some of those showed our county attorney, Rich Commando, as the aggressor. They showed him topless with a bulging chest and with a machine gun and said some really horrible things in the caption. We didn't know who did it. But there has just been an arrest recently. Nathan Keys has been arrested, and he's innocent until proven guilty, but he's the suspect in that case. What was that like for you and your family going through that time where all these violent images of you were being spread around? How did that make you feel?
It was absolutely horrific. And to be honest, after going through such an ugly campaign, I really thought things would calm down. And instead, it was just the opposite. I had no idea. They actually started in February of this past year, and I was in shock. I thought, oh, my gosh, now that I'm in, I just couldn't believe that it was getting worse in the way of as far as violent and that. The thing that was so frustrating and so nerve-wracking was, not knowing who it was. Whether I go to the grocery store or I'm out and about or, as you mentioned, I'm so busy. I'm at so many different things, and just not knowing who was behind it. Because clearly it was not somebody that was very stable. The graphics were so violent, just so terrible that you just don't know. I mean, we know just from things that have happened in the past, it's not uncommon for people to either write or draw pictures before something happens.
Yeah.
So, you just don't know. And the fact that the individual that was arrested actually had a record, and he was actually sentenced to 3 years in jail, and had shot off a gun, and had so clearly there was a lot more to this.
Well, if his motive was to bring you down, he didn't succeed.
No.
You are very courageous. You're so spirited, and it obviously didn't bring you down one bit.
Right.
Do you feel better now that he's been arrested?
You have no idea. When I received that phone call from Sheriff Hardwick that they finally arrested somebody for that, because, this has been going on for quite some time. And I just got the call just a few weeks ago. It was amazing. And, every wall that was hit, they didn't give up, the Sheriff's Department. And I am so grateful for Sheriff Hardwick and his team for not giving up and for taking this as seriously as they did, because it is. And, for people that aren't in the situation, you have no idea what it's like until you're actually in somebody's shoes.
Right. And Beach 105.5 Local Morning News will continue to follow that story.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Watch that. We'll see if anyone else was involved in the outcome of the trial.
And I appreciate that.
Now, on to something a little more pleasant. Nights of Lights.
Yes.
Right? People come from all over the world to see the millions of little white lights all over the city. Yes. For the first time, the county is involved. How did that happen?
Yes, for the first time. And this will be the 32nd year of Night of Lights. What really triggered it is that for the first time, the city of St. Augustine went to the Board of County Commissioners and asked the county for additional funding. Anybody that attended Night of Lights last year knew that it did not go well. It was a challenge not only for residents, for visitors, for businesses. It overall was just, there's no other words than to say nightmare. Hindsight's 2020, but there were a number of things that I think could have been addressed. And now going into this year, we want to make sure that people have a much, much better and more positive experience. And so when the city came to the county for additional funds, they actually asked for over $1 million. They get $200,000, but we actually voted and we approved an additional $650,000. So a total of $850,000 to help with Night of Lights in a certain capacity this year. And so what happened was I actually kind of spearheaded this. The city is actually in my district, District 5, and I really wanted to open up and get better communication with the city and the county, with the police department in the city, with our sheriff's department, because we need to work together for the sake of all of our St. Johns County residents as well as the city. But that's really where that came from, is that we're finally working together.
And there's an app.
Yes, there's a new app, Night of Lights app. There's QR codes that will be all over. Please download the app. There's going to be wonderful updated information. Really what we learned from last year is that Nights of Light is truly a walking event. It is not an event that you want to drive through, because there were busy times last year that literally it was gridlock. You could not move. Cars were not moving for 30, 45 minutes. And we do not want to have that happen.
And forget trying to get into a restaurant.
Yes.
Oh, forget it.
Exactly. So now we've got additional park and ride shuttles. There's going to be additional safety officers and sheriff's department working with the police and helping with traffic and safety and all kinds of things. Mobility is a huge issue. I'm so excited about this year. I want people to give it a chance. We are really working hard with the city to make sure that this is a much more enjoyable event this year.
It's such a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Feel so blessed. And actually, National Geographic rated it like one of the top 10.
Top 10 in the world.
In the
Christmas
world.
light displays in the whole world.
So we are so honored to have it here. And another big part of the funding, you mentioned the additional funding that was needed. Tourism is the #1 industry in St. Johns County. So we have got to do all we can to support that. So many people work in the industry and it's shortened this year. So there's going to be less time for people to come and enjoy it.
And I think something, Anne, that some people don't understand is a lot of people say, well, why should I pay for Nights of Lights? Why should it come out of my taxes? I don't want to pay for it. Let the tourists pay for it. But they do, because it comes out of the bed taxes.
Yes,
right?
yes. And thank you for clarifying that, because that comes up all the time. And we do. We have a tourist bed tax. So all of the funding that is going to make Night of Lights even better this year is all coming from that bed tax. So thank you for clarifying that.
And our time is up. It went by so fast, and I knew it would. Just real quick, Anne, before you go, what would you like to see change in St. Johns County? What are your priorities?
My priorities include being a voice for the residents. I want to hear what is important to our residents. That's why I'm so passionate about SB 180. And we need local decision makers to be able to make good decisions for our residents. So I want to hear from them. It was interesting when I ran for office, a lot of people said, oh, you're going to get in and then you're not going to do what you promised. I ran on slowing the growth. And that is my promise. I have not wavered from that. If you go back and look at every vote that I have made, please know that I am keeping with my promise and what I promised to do.
Okay. Now, you say you want to hear from the people.
Yeah.
And I just want to take this opportunity and to remind people they can go to commissioners' meetings and they can speak. Each resident has 3 minutes to speak during the public comment section. Do you pay attention to those people that come up and talk?
Absolutely. I take notes. In fact, at this week's meeting, during my commissioner comments, I actually gave a recommendation to something that was mentioned during the commissioner comments. It was tied to Charlie Kirk, and somebody had recommended possibly naming a park after him, and we had a discussion about whether it be a road or a park, but I definitely listened to that. And we may not be able to comment directly during the comments, but just know, I just want you to know that, yes, I hear you, and I will do all I can. In fact, you bring up a great point there. For a long time, there was a situation where somebody had been talking about a subject for a long time. And as soon as I got into office, I met with staff and our attorneys and said, what do we need to bring closure to this? This has been going on for far too long. And we were able to do that.
And how else do you hear from people?
Oh, I get emails all the time. My information is on the St. Johns County website. I've got a phone number. I'm in the community all the time, but I welcome people to reach out and call me and that. But just know that I am listening.
What is your email address?
My email address is ataylor@sjcfl for St. Johns County, Florida.us.
Thank you so much, Ann Taylor, for being with me today. I knew this half hour was going to fly by.
Yes.
What do you think you'll do with the rest of your Sunday?
You know what? I am hoping, if the weather cooperates, that I can make it to the beach. So that is my recharge and just downtime. I moved here for the beach, and I try to make the most of it when I get a chance.
Nothing like sand between the toes, right?
Yes, yes. And thank you again for having me.
Thank you. My pleasure. Talk soon.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in, and remember, all of our broadcasts can be downloaded as a podcast. Go to flaglerbroadcasting.com, click on podcast, and scroll down to Good Morning St. Augustine. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday in our beautiful, ancient, historic city.